So today we are making and canning meatballs. We're using, well, this is adapted from the Bernardin recipe for Quebec meatballs, but I've made a couple of little adjustments. So yeah, here we go. So I've got altogether 3 kilos of mince. This is a mix of pork and beef. I've got about 1.5 kilos of pork, 1.5 kilos of beef, and I have got here 2 finely chopped onions. I'm going to add in next my spices. So I've got 2 cloves of chopped, minced, crushed, whatever you want to call it, garlic there. I've got 3 tablespoons of dried parsley. 2 teaspoons of salt, teaspoon of pepper, 1 each of paprika and cumin as teaspoons, and 2 teaspoons of all-purpose seasoning, the same one I used in the other video. I'll find the details for you. All-purpose seasoning. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start squishing the mix all together using our hands.
Can I help you?
Yes, you can help. So when making our meatballs, we need to make sure that we don't include any dairy or breadcrumbs, any kind of grain or dairy products. Okay, time to turn them into balls. So now the reason I'm putting these on a cooling rack inside a baking tray is I'm going to quickly blast them in the oven to brown them off. I'm doing a fair few. I'm going to get these in the oven now just for a quick blast to brown them. Okay, and we're going to do these in tomato juice. So I have got some tomato juice here. I've got 2 litres. So that's 2 litres there, and to that I'm going to add about 2 cups of wine. Now I'm going to put that on the heat. And now it's time to get our canner ready. So as always, we'll check it out. Hold that up to the light, make sure the air pipe is clear, which it is. Make sure I've got my pan rack. There we go, in there. To lightly oil my seal now. Get that into the lid as so. This model calls for 3 litres of water. We're going to get 1, 2, 3, and a little splash of vinegar there. And the vinegar just helps stop the lime scale from covering the jars when we're heating and cooling them. I'm going to get this on the heat. I have heated my juice, as you can see. And my meatballs have browned for 5 minutes, and you can see there's an amount of fat in there, which I'm going to pour off now. We don't want that fat going into our jars, because that could go rancid in storage. It could also foul the seal and prevent it from sealing properly. So we're going to pull all that fat off. There we go. Remove niffler from Weck. So I'm going to just use my funnel there, and I'm going to see how I'm going to pack these in now.
Lids.
Thank you, darling. Somewhere sensible on that stool will be fine.
Okay.
I'm going to go for about that. I'm not even sure how many that is. Gotta be honest. I'm going to do these 5 at a time.
Done.
Right, thank you. So I'm going to do these 5 at a time, just so that I can keep the heat in. So I'm now going to fill these to about 1 inch. Which is about there. I've slightly overfilled the meatballs, but they'll settle as they cook. See, I'd normally be doing this a little more neatly, but it's tricky to film at the same time. Really useful gauge is that I find to the space of the bottom of the funnel is usually about 1 inch. Often helps when it's sitting flat, of course. But I find that's a very good guide, and it's pretty reliable with most things. There we go. And so I'm going to get my rings on, just to ease that around like that on the jar. Then make sure you really get that clip on properly, because you do not want them coming undone because you've put them on the inside line on there. Look, you want to get them right in so they're nice and strong. So I generally fit about 5 of the 100 width jars in a layer in my Presto 23. On my 16 I also get 5, it's the same width of course. Haven't done is giving them a wipe. So as you can now see, we've reached a full head of steam venting from the air pipe. I'm going to start my 10-minute timer. I will see you later. So my 10-minute timer has just gone off. I'm going to plop my weight on and start building pressure. So as you can see, we've just come up to pressure. I am just lowering the heat just enough to keep the weight rocking because we don't want it raging too fast. I'll see you in 90 minutes. So my timer has just gone off, signalling the end of my processing time. So I'm going to now turn the heat off completely and leave it for about 15-20 minutes for the pressure to drop. Plop. There we go. So the pressure lock has now dropped. I'm going to take the weight off and I'm going to give it another 10 minutes with the lid on. I'll see you then. So we've waited 10 minutes. I'm going to remove the lid. I'm going to lift the far end away from me to release any steam out towards the back and away from my face. I'm now going to leave them an added 10 minutes in the canner with the lid off before I come and take them out. So as you can see, I've just taken the lid off. I'm going to give these another 10 minutes just to sit in the canner and then we'll get them out. So that's the first jar out. As you can see, it's bubbling really well. So we'll put that on our towel. And leave that for 24 hours and check the seal. So these are all the top layer. All bubbling really well. morning. So we're going to look at our meatballs today. So we got 10 jars in our canner yesterday. We're going to have a look and see if they've sealed. Number one. Oh. Perfect. So if you can see there, we've got a little layer of fat despite what I poured off. And that's all settled down nicely into the liquid. So you always lift it by the lid. Make sure there are no air bubbles trapped around the rim, which is a sign that it will give way. If you give it a little press, you can sometimes see them moving. I haven't got one to show you. All of these sealed. Oh, I might have one. Let's see if I've had a tiny bit of bulging on this one. It's still sealed well, it's not quite past the rim. So that one's fine, but I will put it towards the front of the shelf, just so that it gets used sooner. Yep. Perfect. Again, you can see a little layer of fat on top, but the balls have settled down mostly into the liquid now. Now this one, I think already has not sealed. Now if you can see, I don't know if it can focus on that. You can see some bubbling around the rim, which might just mean that this one's a goner. We'll have a look. But it looks to be just fat. Yeah, you can see it there. You see if I push on the lid, now that the clips are loosened, you can just see the movement around the seal. Where it's not quite. Yeah? You see the air bubbles moving around the rim. So that one I suspect. Yeah, there we go. So that one is my lucky one for dinner. Perfect. Oh, smells good. So I had a couple that didn't fit in the canner jars yesterday, and we had them for lunch in pittas, and they were delicious. So I'm looking forward to these tonight. So we've had 1 out of 10s, not sealed, and by the looks of it, it's got a lot of grease around the rim on this one.